In this segment, we're going to use HTML5's geolocation feature as well as Google Maps API to display a map of the user's location using latitude and longitude that's detected by the geolocation object. Now, we're doing a very simple example of Google's Map API. Google's Map API is actually really well documented and very extensive. If you want more information, you can go to developers.google.com/maps. You can sign up for an API key and build loads of different mapping applications with HTML5, JavaScript, and PhoneGap. So I've already got an application that we built that detects the user's latitude and longitude on the device. Here we've listened for the device ready event. When we get that event, we set up a watch using the watch position method, and when we get the user's position, we call the onSuccess method. In the onSuccess method, we get the user's latitude and longitude, which is passed into the method, and we also are able to display it in the user interface. I'm going to go ahead and just add a place in the user interface for us to display a map. I'll display it below the button. So we'll create a div here, and I'll call this just map div, giving it that ID. Now, this is where the Google Maps API comes in. We're going to do this on success. So each time we get a position, we're going to display a map. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a string out of the latitude and longitude. Latitude first. So I'll just call this LOC for location. And that's going to take the latitude, and we're going to add to that a comma. And then to the other side, we're going to add the longitude. So that's going to create one string that's got the latitude value, a comma, and the longitude value. We're going to use that to build the larger URL, which is going to provide the map. So let's go ahead and call this map URL. So we get this from http://maps.googleapis.com/maps/API. Take your time when you're typing this, because if you make a single mistake, it's not going to work correctly. So here we have static map, ? And then we're going to enter some parameters. These parameters are sent to Google, and Google produces the map based on these parameters. So we have our maps.googleapis.com/maps/API/static map, and then the question mark indicating we're going to have a query string. And the first thing we're going to get is the center, which is the center point of the map. So we're going to say center equals, and we're going to concatenate onto that the location value we just created on line 52. After the location value, we have a few more parameters to set. So we have an ampersand, and we'll set the zoom parameter to 14, which is zoomed all the way in Google Maps. If we used a lower number, it would give us a higher altitude view. If we did 1, it would give us almost the whole world. All right, so then we have a size for the map. Let's go with, for ours, 400 by 400. We'll do a square map. And finally, we're going to set the sensor property to false. All those are separated by ampersands. So we've created here a rather long string. And that gets the map, sends it the location, which has been detected by the geolocation object, passed into onSuccess. We've set the zoom to 14, the size of the map returned to 400 by 400, and the sensor to false. So you remember a couple of moments ago, I created this div right here called the map div. So now we want to populate the map div with our map. So we'll call that with document getElementById, map div. And we're going to set the inner HTML property to image, and we'll make the source the URL for the map. So I'll do a single quote, and then I'll concatenate to that the map URL, and then we'll concatenate, again, a single quote, and we'll close the HTML. So what this is going to do is build an HTML image element right here, put it in this map div down here on line 76, which you can hardly see. There we go. Line 76. And so this image will be built with the source being the map URL with the latitude and longitude passed by geolocation. All right, so we're going to go ahead and test this in our Android emulator. So now I'm just finishing the process of bringing my project into the Eclipse environment. Let's do our traditional project clean here, and we should be ready to go. Now remember, if you're using the emulator here, the emulator won't really detect a latitude and longitude unless you force it to. So when we debug this, we're going to want to go into DDMS mode. And from DDMS mode, using the emulator controls, down here, I can send it a latitude and longitude. That's exactly what we're going to do, but first we've got to actually run our application. All right, so let me go ahead and go back here into Java mode. We've got our application ready to go, so I'm going to create a debug configuration. Looks like I've already got one in there. So this is for geolocation. And we want to make sure we're going to target always prompt to pick device. Looks like we're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to click debug. And that's going to, of course, load our application into the emulator. Switch to DDMS mode. Nexus 7 emulator is the one I'm using. So DDMS mode, click right there. All right, and we can watch as our application gets ready to launch right here in devices. You'll see it there's the green bug indicating we're debugging this tv.learntoprogram.mobile package, which is our application. And we can also watch the messaging here in the logcat. I'm going to go ahead and wake them up right here. And we should see our app running. Good. So now we're going to start getting errors. So I'm going to go in here because it's detecting an incorrect, or detecting no latitude and longitude. So longitude -72.464. And then our latitude will do 41.845. I'm going to click send to send it to the device. And there we go. We've got our location right here in Vernon, Rockville, Connecticut. And if you're wondering, our office is right down here along Hartford Turnpike. Now, of course, if I click Stop Tracking Location, the map would still appear. Now, if we were to send a different location, of course, the map would change to reflect that location. But this is a quick and simple way of using Google's existing Maps API to display a map using HTML5, PhoneGap, and